And tell us, how did the concept of ITWales come into existence? What was the environment like at the time, and why was it necessary or desirable to create ITWales, which was it called IT Network Wales back then? And how did it look in the early days? What activities did it do?
Well, we started ITWales. I think I can go back to say 1992. We were in a coffee room in computer science having a cup of coffee, and the then head of department, Professor Peter Townsend, came in with the first destination survey of the graduates who had left the previous year. And it was, he looked through it and we could see that most of the graduates were getting really, really good jobs. But they were getting all these jobs across the border in England. During the coffee break, we were discussing what would happen to the Welsh economy if all the graduates were going across the border or going abroad and not staying in Wales. And I think somebody said we should do something about it. Well, to cut a long story short, we decided that we'd set up a placement scheme, and I was charged at that time then with looking at the feasibility of it. And I was asked would I like to run with it, which I thought, yeah, I would love to do that. It was absolutely brilliant. And we got some students together to find out exactly what they would want of an official placement scheme. And then I wrote to a lot of companies to ask them their opinion, and we decided then to put a document to the Welsh Development Agency to see if they would support it. And they said yes, they'd support it for 2 years for us as a pilot project. So then I prepared leaflets for students, leaflets for companies, wrote out to all the companies and things and got the students and matched the students up with the projects the companies wanted. We certainly wanted the students out on placement, but we didn't want them doing menial jobs. We wanted them to do something very constructive for that company and useful. So we matched them up, and I think the first year we had 11 students out, and the second year we had another 11 students out. In 1995, the Welsh Development Agency, or the Welsh office actually, decided that they wanted to expand this idea to cover all disciplines and cover the whole of Wales. And they put together a project called Cymru Prosper Wales. And that meant that you had subcontractors throughout Wales covering all disciplines over a geographical area. But we in Swansea wanted to have a discipline-led scheme. We wanted a computing discipline-led scheme. So I went around to all the universities in South Wales saying whether they would support me in doing a discipline-led scheme, and they would. I went to Cardiff, to Uwick, to Trinity and Aberystwyth. And Swansea Met as it was, Swansea Institute as it was then, Swansea Met now. And we agreed that we would run, between, I would oversee it and project manage it, a discipline-led scheme in computing. And we were then included in the Cymru Prosper Wales scheme. So we've been running placements then officially under Cymru Prosper Wales, which is now Go Wales, or Graduate Opportunity Wales, since 1995. And they've been very, very important, and they've been the mainstay of the programme since then. We continued, and it was a huge success actually, because the students coming back from placement were so much keener. They really wanted to get a really good degree. There was a lot that they'd learned, and there was such a lot of benefits for companies as well. Companies would offer a student a full-time job if there was one available. If there wasn't one available, that student would have done a valuable piece of work for that company during the summer. So it was a win-win for companies and students. And I think at one stage we were 62% of all our students had stayed in Wales, so it was a huge success. It was a wonderful, wonderful programme, and it's still going strong now. After that, we needed to get more companies on board, because we always had more students to place than we had companies. So, trying to think of how we could engage more companies, we set up the ITWales Business Club in 1999. We then needed to give these companies something as part of their membership of the club, if you like. So we started with providing workshops and seminars on ICT topics. And initially, in the early stages, it was very, very easy, but it was also new. We were explaining how to use email, how to trade online, legal implications of trading online, VAT implications, all these things, very early things, and we graduated on then to marketing online and things like that. So we started doing these workshops and seminars, and they were hugely successful, hugely successful. We took the ITWales Business Club across South Wales. We did events, breakfast events, lunch events, evening events, from Pembrokeshire through to Cardiff. Then in 2001, we needed, I was having queries from lots of companies in West Wales and different parts when they couldn't come to the events. So we launched the ITWales.com magazine, which was hugely successful, hugely successful. Andrew Davis, the then Minister of Economy and Transport, he came to Swansea and launched it for us. And we provided then interviews, features, articles, daily news bulletins on ICT that affected businesses in Wales, and actually it went way beyond Wales as well. Hugely successful. At its height, the magazine received 35,000 unique visitors per month, reading 125,000 pages. It was hugely successful, hugely successful. I was very, very proud of it. And we continued this magazine, and is continuing today, which is really, really nice to see that that magazine has prospered. Going back the timeline, prior to the launch of the magazine, Swansea at that time had an organisation called Swansea Big Industry Week, and every other year they organised a week-long series of events for businesses, and we thought we would do something to support it. And it was suggested to me that we do a week-long series of events alternating with Swansea Business Week with computing, because at that moment ICT and computing started to get quite important to business. So we said yes, we would, and in the year 2000 we launched our first ICT Forum Wales, and we ran that then every other year for up until 2007. We had huge, very, very prestigious speakers. Rory Catherine-Jones, the technology correspondent for the BBC, as well as Sir Terry Matthews. He came down and did a couple of lectures for us as well. That was very, very successful. During the time, we kept the ITWales programme going, the Business Club programme going, the ICT Forum programme going, and the placements, of course. I must never forget the placements. And we were then invited to take the whole ITWales programme up to Bangor in North Wales, and we went up to Bangor in 2004. That was a new thing for us, but then we were across Wales. We were North and South Wales, which was, I quite liked that idea of us going North and South Wales. We went into North Wales in 2004, and we set up an office in the Department of Computer Science in Bangor University. And we continued with another programme of events. We started our events up in North Wales, and we started our events, the magazine was taken to North Wales, and we had a huge new array of businesses involved in our business club and our business club events. And we were welcomed with open arms up in Bangor. And Andrew Davis again came up to launch ITWales at Bangor. So he made the journey up with us, and we had a wonderful evening launching the magazine and business club up in Bangor. After that, we continued taking the programme forward, and we started within the business club special interest groups. And we started this from the beginning. We'd start IT and marketing, and we'd focus for a couple of weeks, a couple of months on marketing issues, and then we'd integrate those into the main ITWales programme. We did IT and marketing, IT and training, IT in the micro business and entrepreneurship. We did all these and then integrated them all into the main ITWales programme. And Rob up in Bangor actually said to me that he would like to do something for software developers. And we gradually asked to get, because IT then became more useful and people were saying it was more useful, we were asked for more technical, to put on some more technical events. And Rob up in Bangor had asked us to set up the special interest group for software developers. And he'd started it up in Bangor, and it had taken off because they had a lot of one-man bands, if you like, software developers up in Bangor, and they wanted a group so that they could discuss things and discuss technical issues and things with. And he ran those once a month, the same as our business club events. And that group was growing and growing. So we decided then to launch that down in South Wales. So we started it in South Wales as well, and we started far more technical seminars in South Wales. And when we needed to develop the programme further, we felt that the best thing we could do is start a network for software developers. And we would like that as a Welsh-wide network for software developers. And I thought that would make a very good EU bid. And it would take us the next stage that we felt ITWales could go. And to do that, I needed to understand more about some of the other networks that were going around. So I went to Ireland and I went to Scotland. There was an organisation in Ireland called the Irish Software Association, and a similar one in Scotland called Scotland IS, and in England they had Intellect. But we had nothing like that in Wales at all. So yes, we needed something like that in Wales. So I decided that we could investigate this and see how the Scottish and the Irish were organising their associations and their networks. So I asked colleagues from Aberystwyth, Cardiff, Bangor, if they wanted to come with me to Ireland and Scotland to see how the whole setup in those two countries was organised. And we went to the Irish Software Association in Dublin, and then we went down to Lero, which is an organisation working out in Limerick. And then after that we went to Scotland. And the results of these visits, we found out that these organisations are standalone. They weren't linked with any university, and they weren't linked with any professional organisation. So I felt that we could, in Wales, because we are small, we could link up with the universities, we could link up with a professional organisation, the British Computer Society, and set up our own network in Wales. and came back, got all the agreement of all the other computer science departments in the convergence area of Wales, but I also had the agreement of UWIC and Cardiff universities to set up this network throughout Wales and put the bid forward, and that's how the Software Alliance Wales was born. So that's the continuation of and the latest project within ITWales. Well, one of the latest projects within ITWales. The second latest project is Technicamps, of course. And the story of Technicamps goes back to 2003 and way beyond that actually, because there was a problem in computer science that the numbers of students who were elected to study computer science was going down, and it was a bit of a problem for the department. Not only the department in Swansea, because we did back the trend in Swansea for a while, but it's not even a Welsh problem, it's a global problem. And one of the problems we found out was that computing wasn't recognised really as a separate subject. We tried to get people to understand that ICT and computing were two separate subjects, that everybody needed ICT, but not everybody needed computing. But it was something you had to keep repeating all the time. And what was taught in schools was so very, very boring. So it was really a switch off from most of the pupils. And another thing, big problem, was that there were not enough teachers who could teach computing anyway. We decided that we would try and do something to try and interest these children and encourage them to think about computing as a career. And in 2004, we started a project which was the start of Technicamps. We did it for a whole week. But to do that, we needed money. And I eventually, after a lot of negotiation and visits back and forth, got some money from Microsoft to run the project. We went up to their head office and they came down to Swansea as well. And they liked the idea of Technicamps. They liked the ideas we were putting forward and what we were trying to do. And they then gave us some money to run the week project. And it was hugely successful. And we had 8 schools, I think, and we had so many schools on the waiting list as well. And we ran the whole week of very, very interesting computer subjects like flight simulation, animation, and all these sort of things that the children didn't learn at school, would have forgotten they were ever going to be able to do this sort of thing. It didn't come into their radar. And they were so excited, absolutely excited. We had to limit it to 4 children and a teacher from each school. And the only criticism of that week came from the teachers that we didn't have a computer for each teacher. We managed to get a computer for each child, but we couldn't manage a computer for each teacher. So the teachers were waiting for the children to finish what they were doing so that they could have a go as well. It was hugely successful. So since then, we have worked very, very hard. We've tried the Technicamps concept with different age groups, with different topics, and we set up a program. So you want to be a computer technician, so you want to be an animator, and these things we introduced into the ICT program, ICT Forum Wales program, as well as the normal ITWales business club events as well. We fitted them in wherever we could. And that's the story of how Technicamps came about. prior to Technicamps, actually, I'd forgotten we'd run a whole day event on animation. Because within the ICT Forum week, we asked Swansea Met to do something on animation, because they've got a very, very good animation department there. And that actually then turned out to be Swansea Swansea Animation Days. And we did an event, a day event in the Grand Theatre called ITWales. We did animation in the past, animation in the present, and animation in the future. And we had 600 odd people. We were going to do it in the university, but the response was so much that we had to look for somewhere big. And the only place we could get was the Swansea Grand Theatre. So Mike Young Productions were brilliant helping us to do that. And sponsored us and everything. They were absolutely superb. So we really, that was the start. When we realised that, when we understood the response to ITWales, we realised that our ideas for Technicamps were right. Yeah. There was a need for it. So hope now that Technicamps will go from strength to strength.